Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about Office 365 Security and Compliance Center. So this topic is covered within MS 500 program or course, and especially my previous video I concentrated on Office 365 Admin Center, so which is this, right? So after that video I got some questions related to Office 365 Security and Compliance Center, which I'm going to cover during this video. I'm Kushanta Gunardana. Today I'm going to talk about a Security and Compliance Center. So this is admin portal Microsoft 365. If you have Office 365 or Microsoft 365 subscription, so you can access admin panel of Office 365 or Microsoft 365 Admin Center. For that you need to have administrative access. Even users can access, but they won't see administrative functions. But if you are a global administrator or Exchange administrator or Teams administrator, or if you have administrative access to the portal, you will have access to administration panel. So if you go in there towards down your left, you would see Security Center, Security Admin Center, and Compliance Admin Center. So these are this is compliance.microsoft.com, which is Microsoft Compliance Admin Center, and I'm going to talk about this some other time. So this is related to compliance needs. And also if you go into security, you can find out a security center. These are two different portals, but the configurations pretty much we are enforced into single place that you need. Alright guys, this is Microsoft 365 Security and Compliance Center. So when you log in there, you would find the dashboard where you can find out different features where you can change it later. If you go there, you would see the security score, which is quantitative value for your tenant, and you can just analyze it to find out what is your status in terms of security, what is your status in terms of identity related issues and all sorts of stuff. And if you go into alerts, you can find out information related to alerts. Since this is a cloud service, alerts are extremely important for us to understand what type of issues that we have within our tenant. The reason is, if it is on premises, we have different ways of tackling the issues. We can run multiple tools to find out if there are any issues. But when it comes to cloud service, we don't know where users are logging in. So from the dashboard, you can find out any alerts within your tenant. And also, I hope you understood what is tenant as of now. If you look at my previous video, you would find out the tenant is your organizational space within Microsoft 365. So where you create your users, where you assign licenses and subscriptions and so on. And also if you go in, you can see alert policies. And then if you go into advanced alerts, so there you have few policies to configure to find out information. And if you go into manage alert advanced alerts, you would see it will be redirected to somewhere called Cloud App Security. Now Cloud App Security Center is unified different portal where you can analyze your application related issues. If you go in there, so within same subscription, you would get access to a Cloud App Security portal where you can find out activity logs like this. Whenever user logs into any application, including Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and anything like that. And you can filter out based on the apps, and you can find out apps that accessed by the users. Obviously I'm using a demo tenant, so you wouldn't see much of data there. And also you can see the IP addresses they're coming in from, and then location and devices, operating system, and so on and so forth. I'll be doing a separate video about Cloud App Security portal, but as of now you understand different type of alerts that we can configure within Cloud App Security Center. So this can be configured using policies, so where you can configure and send or configure alerts to be received. So you can go here and you can create a policy to generate alerts, and you can receive different alerts to your SMS, your mobile phone, or your email, or whatever the way you would want to. And then if you go into the next one, known as permissions. So earlier we discussed there are different type of roles within Microsoft 365 to provide role-based access. Something like global administrator, exchange administrator, SharePoint administrator. But within that, we have a set of roles to be assigned for security and compliance related roles. For example, let's say if you're gonna conduct an investigation related to an incident where it's not always IT department involved with the investigation. Sometimes you might want to get people from HR, from a legal. So then we want to assign these roles to these people. This is where you can do that. And if you go into classification, you can configure sensitivity labels and retention labels. So these labels are really important. Actually, we have option of migrating labels from AIP, which is Azure Information Protection, to Microsoft 365. So if you see here, there are a set of default labels available and publish label available, where you can assign these labels to our documents or files. So these labels are embedded to the files, and it goes irrespective of the status, which means whenever files are stored or transmitted, these labels goes with the files. So in that way, we can enforce encryption or any other restrictions based on the labels. That can be configured by your own, or you can have your own labels, or you can use default labels. And depending on the subscription, you can do it manually by the users, or you can configure it to be auto labeling depending on the content of the file. And if you go into retention, so this is a method where organizational wide we control the retention and deletion. Some cases we would want to keep data for a long time. For example, government organizations would want to keep their data for 10 years. And other cases, like let's say when we conduct penetration testing, we don't want to keep data more than 60 days. So then after 6 days, we want to delete everything related to this particular case. So that can be done by a deletion policy, where you can configure here. And if you go into sensitive info types, you can find there are ready-made over 80 templates are available there. So pretty much you can use these sensitive data types in DLPs, data loss prevention, which I'm going to talk about in a while. So you can directly configure these sensitive data types and apply them to your communication. So there you can configure directly policy to prevent these sensitive data types being sent out of the organization. So that's what we do using classification. And if you go into next one, data loss prevention. So this is a method we can prevent intentional or unintentional data leakage. So that you can use the sensitive data types that we discussed, and the various other options are there. So you can enforce users not to share sensitive information of your organization outside of the organization. So you can do this as a test, or you can monitor to understand who are the users being sent these data outside of the organization, or you can enforce these policies to protect them, or you can enable a tool team for users. When they type this in unintentionally, they would get a notification to say that this is restricted. And these are the stuff that you can do under data loss prevention. If you go into data records management, you can configure a file plan, and you can configure an event. For example, let's say if a person leaves from the organization, and after 5 years we want to delete everything that he was using, all the data deletion after an event. So that can be done using the record management. And if you go into information governance, you can monitor data throughout your organization, and you can configure different policies to understand label classified records, and how labels being applied, and top 5 labels being used within your organization, and also archival and retention under information governance. And if you go in there, the next option is known as supervision. What it does is, some cases we want to monitor some users. For example, interns, people recently joined with an organization. For some time we want to monitor them. Sometimes randomly we want to monitor 10% of their communication. That can be very easily performed using supervision. You can assign a user or group, and we can monitor by a supervisor. So according to the configuration, certain percentage of the email or communication being redirected to the supervisor. So that is another interesting feature comes within the Security and Compliance Center. So the next option is threat management. So if you go into dashboard, you would find out sort of a single dashboard view of your organization. You will understand what are the trends, protection status, and then what type of threats that you received during last 7 days, and then other configuration related to ATP, which is another unique product within Microsoft 365, Advanced Threat Protection. Then you can configure advanced ATP safe links, safe attachments, and anti-phishing kind of configuration. And also you would see here threat protection status, top malware, and then send and receive emails. Obviously I'm using demo tenant, so we have only very few information. And if you go into submission, there are two types of submissions where administrators can submit some of the suspicious files to Microsoft directly to understand whether it's a real malicious code or not. And even users can submit known as user submissions, and we can configure a small add-on to users email, for an example. So then you can select whether it's a phishing mail or suspicious mail, then it will be shown here, and then administrators can take actions, relevant actions within that. So that is threat management. So there you can see anti-phishing, anti-spam, filtering, and all sorts of stuff. And if you go into mail flow, you will find out dashboard related to your mail communication. And then the last one, the second option is message trace. And sometimes users are complaining that they're supposed to receive a mail but they haven't received. So then how to trace them? So the option would be message trace, where you can specifically search for a email based on the sender or recipient, or the duration, or the topic. So whatever the method you would want to, you can trace them and find out exact reason to fail the message or successful receive of the message. So that is the mail flow dashboard. Obviously I don't have much data there. And if you go into data privacy, you would see GDPR related information, general data protection policy related information. So GDPR was enforced approved in European Union in a few years ago, and it was enforced in most of the security cloud service providers, including Microsoft. So there you can understand, if you go into GDPR toolbox, you will find information related to GDPR status, because a cloud implementation always has two parties involved, cloud service provider and cloud consumer. So then we can find out what are our status in terms of GDPR. And there's another one called DSR, data subject request, because according to GDPR, users are having rights to understand what is their status within your tenant, where they store their data, and how we gonna use their data, and all that, so on and so forth. So there you can generate data subject request, or DSR. Here you would see create DSR case and export report, and provide the report to the user. And you have another interesting option under search, known as content search, where you can search for specific content throughout the organization, including Exchange Online, including Microsoft Teams, including SharePoint Online. So you can scan throughout the organizational data to find out certain information. For example, administrative requirements. So you can do that using content search. And the second option is audit log search. By default, this is disabled, but first thing you should do is enabling audit log search. Once you enable it, you can find out any audit related information or activity related information within your tenant. For example, removing user from a group, adding user to a group, so upgrading user privilege. If you go in there, you will find out number of these are the audit activities that you can find out within audit log search. So you would see here access files and file related stuff, folder permissions and SharePoint activities, creating lists, deleting lists. Sometimes users are complaining that we had this list yesterday but today I can't find it and something like that. So you can find out all these audits, but remember, within 90 days. So after 90 days, in general terms, these audit logs will flushed away. Now if you go into create mailbox item, and you can select this audit item, and you can specify one or more audit items, and you can specify the date range and the users, and you can start it. Then it will find out audit related activities. And also remember, this will not find any content related information but activities. But if you go in there, you can see activity application discovery, and there is another very important option known as e-discovery. So the audit or content search is to find out content for administrative purposes. But there are certain instances where you need to find out not only the information, but also we should be able to produce this to courts, for an example. So it should be something like digital evidence. So it should be admissible on the courts, right? So for that, they have given this option called e-discovery, where you can again search and find out information, and you can produce this to the court as a digital evidence. And also we have another option known as advanced e-discovery, where it's quite similar to e-discovery, but it gives you sort of a similar type of or analytical information. It uses machine learning and artificial intelligence, and then it can find out more analytical data, similar cases, similar scenarios, and also it's capable of scanning using OCR, optical character recognition capability. So it can scan, it has capabilities more than e-discovery. So it gives you more analytical information, and also it can be produced as a digital evidence. And then, so these are the options there. I'm just giving you an overview. Later I'm gonna take you through much in detail information related to Office 365 Security and Compliance Center. So if you go into reports, it would give you a report dashboard where you get all sorts of security and compliance related information within this dashboard, and also you can configure and manage schedules, and you can download the reports. So these are the information within features within Office 365 Security and Compliance Center. Under dashboard report, so you can find out these reports were generated, and then you would see here recent reports for download, how labels were applied that I explained earlier, and then labels trend over past 90 days, how would the trend look like, and threat protection status, threat protection, detected email, malware, spams, and all that. And then if you go into manage schedules, you can schedule to generate a report, and once generated, if you go into the reports for download, you would have an option to download these reports. So these are the options within reports category. And then finally, it gives us service assurance related information, especially for Microsoft tenant, and SLA, service level agreement related information. What is Microsoft what Microsoft Azure for you within this tenant, providing all these services and features. And if you want to audit report, you can download from here. And trust reports and compliance manager, I'm going to explain in some other video how we can find out the compliance related information within our tenant and what are the features available there. So, and then various other settings related to region and industry related requirement settings are there within as a last option. So I hope you understand Office 365 Secure and Compliance Center and available features within this small video. I just want to take you through the features and give you sort of an overview about this Office 365 Security and Compliance Center. I hope this is informative, and thank you for viewing, and hope to see you with my next video.